All right, so I'm gonna got the RV started here, and it's out there in the driveway back there, and I'm just gonna. It's one of those things where I was always trying to figure out like how much capacity is the fuel tank, and what the heck is going on with my hair. But anyways, just waving goodbye is what it's going. It's waving goodbye. But in any case, I was trying to find a measuring tape so I could actually measure my fuel tank and do the math and figure out how many gallons that sucker actually takes. So we're gonna go here a little bit. Got my stuff on the ground here, all my fuel tanks and everything. Ooh, propane and gas. That's probably not a great mixture. Let's get in here and see if we can find. Oh, here's a measuring tape right here. Got one here. So I'm gonna go out there and measure the cubic volume of the fuel tank, because I never know. There's some people say it's 60, 65, 80. I don't know. So I'm just gonna take a break from doing my other job, my planning job. I need to take a little break from that, and I'm gonna measure this tank. Right now I'm writing finalizing the draft of a county comprehensive plan. Isn't that fun? Yay! That's what I'm doing on a beautiful fall weekend, but hey, gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, and we're gonna take a look-see here and try to measure this fuel tank. It's got some foam on it, but I'm trying to get as close as I can. We have returned, and I put some fuel in it, and under here I've got the fuel tank, as you can see, lovely as it is, with a bunch of crappy foam on the front. But you can see the corner there, you can see a corner there. So I'm gonna measure out what it is. It looks like it's almost a quarter-inch plate by the. You can see there. Look at the thickness of that flange there. It looks like it's somebody welded this all up. So I'm gonna take it from here. I don't know if it's. I'm gonna push. No, it's flush. Okay, so that's flush. So I'm going to take it from this bracket, if I can, to that past here. So it's 26 inches wide by, shorten this baby up a little bit, by, I'm going to hook it here a little bit, on the side, right there, come on there, by a foot, about 12 inches deep. And then we'll get under the fuel tank, because holy McIntyre, it's big. Gonna roll around in the gas here that I spilled from here. But we're gonna do this. Because, I just like rolling around, thrashing around on the ground next to my neighbors. And this is 68.5 inches long. So I'm gonna check this out and see what kind of size tank it is. So it's 26 by 12 by 68.5. So we're gonna check it out here, do the math, and see what happens. I went to this site here and put in. I subtracted for probably a quarter-inch plate for the tank. So what I did is I dropped down some of these measurements a little bit and put the fill depth at 11 inches. It's probably a little less than that, but I haven't had a chance to check it. I'm going to check it here a little bit. But as you can see here, US gallons about 86, filled volume about 82. So got about an 80-gallon fuel tank on that Allegro, which is huge. So some of the calculations I was making for the fuel efficiency of the Allegro are going to be a little lower, unfortunately, than I had originally anticipated. It's probably only getting 6 miles to the gallon instead of 7. And but I'm gonna have to run the numbers again based on my records, and we'll see what happens. Now that I've partially disabled the air system on this particular rig, and we'll do some test drives and see if we get better efficiency with the rebuilt carb and a lot of the other stuff not hooked up for right now.
some of the fixes I do aren't always perfect. And while I try to do the big try to make it work, little things like this occur. I don't know if you can see that 100%, but that is a rear shock mount, the upper mount. You can see there's a lot of stuff all around it. That's my welding, my super expert welding that I was trying to grind off and didn't work so well because the weld stuck really well to the stud, did not stick very well to the actual mount itself on the frame. So I studied it, looked at it, and came to the conclusion that yeah, this trying to re-weld this back on was just, unless I could take the mount off and weld a good solid bead around it and clean the mount completely, just wasn't working so well. So what I had to do is, well, what happened was, is that these wonderful shock absorbers I put on, and I double checked that it was the right type, the 6410, I believe, gas adjust, um, the KYBs, which, again, this is now fully extended because I'm not even going to try to compress it here. I'm not a muscle man. And as I get older, oh, there it goes. It's going down. It comes back out again. They're still good. The problem, the bottom mount was fine. What happens is the tops popped off because the stud, the weld just was against some corroded metal, went bad. So here we go again because it was riding rough because the tops of these shocks were banging. Were actually banging against the floor of the RV. They broke off, the mount stud broke off, and it expanded to the point where it was just banging against. And when I was going 55, I'm like, what is that noise? Come on! It's the same noise I heard on the Southern Tier Expressway heading to Florida. And I suspect that's when the shock mounts originally broke, and these KYBs were banging the floor until they fell down and were caught literally by the parking brake cable. So they were banging up against the frame, against the floor, and then they dropped down. And the only thing that stopped them from dropping and hitting the pavement and probably causing some horrendous amount of damage as they went this way to my RV is that the cable that was it's looped underneath these shocks, it caught them. And you can tell I've got the last shock I had is, well, now it's a mug, as you can see here. This is one of the better ones. The other one was really bashed up, probably because it smashed up against the frame when it broke. And yeah, these are all the shock parts. You can see these parts are here, and I made a mug out of it. Actually, the mug works pretty okay. Anyways, I use it often. Goodness knows what's in the paint coatings and such shock. But anyways, so this is what I got here, and I've got a workaround, as you can see here up here. Now what I've done here, and I'm going to bring it over here and kind of come in a little closer. What I've done is that this will go in where the shock mount is. I've got this nut here, obviously, the nut. I'm going to weld that to the shock mount. So this nut itself will be welded to the shock mount. I've already tap drilled out. So I have the right 9/6. This is by ways of 9/16 grade 8, not grade 8 bolt, but a grade 8 bolt, and you can see it by the markings that are here around here. There's markings all the way around. There's 6 kind of little dashes, and that's a grade 8 bolt. I've taken my tap drill, done it to 9/16, so I know that the end of this bolt will go into the mount where that little hole was, where this was, right? This little thing was kind of stuck in there and tap welded. Crazy. They should have had a lot better weld than that. But it held up for 30 some odd years with bad shocks. So this nut will now be welded to the face of the shock mount because I've ground it all down nice and smooth. I've tapped it out so that this bolt can go through, and actually it kind of threads into the shock mount. It's actually tapping it a little bit and threading it. So we'll have this plus this. And what I'll do is I've got a lock washer and some other washers. And instead of me just sliding it on a stud, and putting the nut on the end like I do on the lower part, right? This thing slides through. I'll be basically doing what this is. This is the bottom shock mount right here. So this will be going in. I want to make sure that this weld around the nut is solid. It should be better because was beveled and it just caused all sorts of chaos. And I have ground that shock mount with the weld beads on it down super smooth. It's super shiny. It will hold a weld. There's no corrosion on it at all. And so what I need to do is prevent this bolt from backing out at some point. So I'm using a lock washer. I may use another one here. I'm not sure. But that's how I'm going to resolve it. And I'm going to get these back on the RV. And, uh, spent a lot of time on that shock mount fix, right? A couple of videos. And like I said, it's a good thing I do the test drives because that, along with all that welding, you can see all that welding material on there. There's a lot on there. Okay, I used a lot of wire on that to put that on, but you can see on the back I couldn't get it on the top. I just couldn't get around the top of that at all, and I'm sure that created a weak point that allowed it to flex and thing. So now this bolt's going to go through into the shock mount itself, and with this welded nut should be hopefully more than enough to keep it in place and keep it from rotating. If I need to put another nut on it, like if I thread this in another nut with a lock washer between, that should really lock it in and keep it from moving, from backing out. But again, there's always something going on, and I paid 100 and some odd bucks for these shocks, so I'd really like them to work. And I double checked that they were the right type for this RV, and they are. So we're going to put them back in and hopefully re-improve the ride. Thanks for watching. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to, again, this isn't just me yapping on it. I'm going to show you some video of me installing this. I've got one of these already in on the passenger side. I'm already tapped out using this. You can see the tape on it, so I know where I need to stop, right? When I'm sitting on the RV and I can't read the diameter of the tap drill. And that was very affordable from Tractor Supply, 2 or 3 different sizes, about 20 bucks. Another tool in the tool bin. I'm okay with it. And we'll get this going. And we'll get them installed. And I'm hoping with grade 8 bolts, and I don't even know what these are. These are not grade 8. They are, you can see they only have 3 dash marks around there. That's not grade 8, trust me. That's a lot less, lower strength bolt than these are. Between that and the way I install and the mount, should be good. Alrighty. So thanks for listening to me blather on, and stay tuned for some of the video under the RV of me getting these installed. Take care.
There we go. That's a lot better. And you can see the glorious, wonderful shock mount in all its glory. I drilled out the stupid rivet on the bottom. The head has not popped out, so I'm going to have to do something about that, but I've got the 2 still here intact. And you see what I've done here? So this nut is not welded in yet. Okay, I'm going to try to get this thing where it focuses on that instead of my everything else on here. So what I've done is this is a 9/16 grade 8 bolt, and it goes into the shock mount. And I've got this nut here, and you can see the way I have it is that's more than enough, along with a lock washer and another washer, to mount the shock, which goes down to that mount there. So with a non-grade 8 bolt. So I'm gonna fix this up and gonna weld that nut in place so that I have a good solid. I've ground the heck out of this thing. I bought a new quarter cable grinder and got in here and really went to town on it to get it nice and smooth and clean. And I took that tap bit and tapped it out to 9/16 in order to get the bolt in, because that hole was not anywhere near big enough to thread this thing in. So, it's pretty snug. I mean, with what's going on, and again, the tightness of the fact that I only drilled it out to 9/16, so the threads are cutting into the mount, should help a bit, especially when I put a bead around this, a nice clean bead around the nut itself, so the nut becomes sort of the mount and the spacer, because I can put a nice washer there and the shock will install, and again, hopefully be a lot better going on here. And I'm going to just scooch a little bit more and disorient everybody. And again, this one here, I'm going to need to, just got to focus that up a little bit. There we go. I need to grind the surface of this out. You can see the rust and everything. See, it's not quite, wasn't quite, it just, the weld wasn't taking, and it snapped off. So I got some crap on here I got to grind off and get it all super clean and level. So again, I can weld the new nut on this one and get this one installed. That's the driver's side. So we're looking down here at this one. And again, this is what saved me right here. See these e-brake cables? That's what saved me. The shock dropped down, hit these, and didn't drop down onto the ground and drag underneath the sway bar and stuff and create all sorts of chaos. Same thing here. You know, it dropped down from here before when that broke off, and eventually it was banging against the ceiling of the RV right here. You can see the whole mark. You can see where it was all bashed in, where it's just constantly hitting it. And I think it was doing the same thing here as well. Yep, there's the spot right there. So it was constantly hitting the underside of the RV. And I want to say that's actually a gas line or something. That's copper, dude. Yeah, look at that. So it was hitting that. Imagine that if that broke. That'd be crazy. Anyway, so luckily for me, it didn't create any more problems. So we'll get these resolved. And we'll get her going again with, you know, air shocks and air shock system, regular shocks, sway bar, and of course the leaf springs, the old rusty leaf springs. So working on it. Phew, well, had to get under here. I just seem to be used to getting under here and having to, there's my buzz box. I literally had to set that thing at the highest setting I could get, because what was happening is the welds weren't holding. I would weld the nut onto the shock mount, and I could take the bolt, pull it all the way out, almost wiggle it back and forth, and snap the nut back off the mount. That's because the metal on the shock mount was basically not melting or heating up enough for it to form a solid weld. So I reground it all, and just get under here. There it is up there. If you can see it, if you can or not. I'm shaking like crazy because I'm trying to hold myself here while I'm doing this and not touching any buttons on the camera. So there is the bolt sticking out of the nut, which you can see the dribs of slag there that I had to just go to town. I mean, it was on maximum on my old Century welder, and went back over here onto this shock mount and did the same thing to try to make sure that you can see the shock is actually on there right now. Let me try to zoom back out. So it's a little dark, but you can see it. And had to put a couple new beads on there to hold it in place. I've had to take the floor jack and jack the bottom of the shock up into the bottom mount. That's really the only way you can do it if you have shocks that you're trying to reinstall with no strap on them. So there's the bottom mount. So I'm going to take the floor jack and lift it up into place, get it in place, get the bolt in, and that's after I loosely install it at the top mount location, which is up there, after it cools down, because it's a little toasty right now. So I'm going to let it cool down. I'm going to get that bolt out, and I'm going to mount it into the top of the shock, and then the fun part's getting the shock to fit at just the right angle to get the bolt back in. It's in the correct position based on the face of the mount. In other words, the nut is welded flush onto the outside of the mount, and that's the proper kind of angle that shock is supposed to be installed. Hello everyone. So I figured I'd take a break here inside the RV and just kind of give you a heads up of what's going on here. So we've got the driveway being, we sealed the driveway a little bit up over in that direction, you can see. So the RV's kind of The long hauler's kind of stuck here for now, but and I'm trying to hold it where there's a better light. I'm a little exhausted because I've been crawling back and forth under the RV again because of the shock mounts that busted off. So turn my welder on maximum, highest it would go, to because the metal on the shock mount itself wasn't fusing. So hopefully that'll work. We'll see. And yeah, so I got the gas adjust shocks back on, got the airbags, ready to go for another test drive, see how the ride feels. I was a little disturbed though, I gotta say, in a previous snippet, where the shocks were snapping off the shock mounts and pounding into the floor of the yeah, that's what happens when you weld without gloves, by the way. See those wonderful little burn marks there? Yeah, that's what happens when hot molten pieces of metal hit your skin. Instantly cauterizes though, so they don't bleed. But you know, you should really wear the safety equipment. I wear the goggles and stuff so I don't get stuff in my eye because I really can't afford that. So, anyways, so we've got that going, and got to do some cleanup here in the RV. There's a lot of junk on the seats and everything of all the bits and pieces that I had here because we weren't going anywhere. And so yeah, so I got to clean all that stuff up. Hope I can reverse this video because it's kind of in a mirror image when I'm facing me with the way this phone camera works. So it flips everything backwards. You can see here that's not how that really reads, but hopefully if I reverse the video it will read fine, because you'll say, hey, I didn't know you owned a British RV because the steering wheel seems to be on the other side, which is kind of cool actually. But anyways, so yeah, so it's a little junky in here. Got to get some cleanup here going. Otherwise it's not in too bad a shape, and just like I've been working on the last few weeks here while not being able to travel, trying to get through some systems and make sure things are working great. The brakes, the shocks, the power steering, right? Went through that. Got to bleed the front brakes, by the way, too. I know that's been a request from Chris. I will endeavor to do that. I do have the bits. I do have the flex hoses. And I think I have the new bleeder valves, because I always have bad experience with old original bleeder valves that kind of snap off, or I have to do something to them badly that doesn't make them usable again. So I bought some new bleeder valves for that as well. Hopefully those will be the right size. And so yeah, so we did the, like I said, driveway sealing, some stuff around the house. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm sitting on the hump right now. It's kind of comfortable. Anyways, so yeah, so we got some things here working on. I'm a little suspicious about my converter. It will convert stuff to 12 volt if you have the generator running, but I don't think it's charging. So I've tested and it's like 12.3 volts, which I can't imagine that's a charging status, but I'll have to read the manual. It's always something. Other than that, we seem to be doing reasonably okay. You know, like to not do repairs 2 times over, 3 times over, but I guess you learn from every experience as long as it doesn't hurt you. Like I was getting to, apparently where the gas line runs through the frame, just underneath the floor, is right in line with, if your shock mount breaks, the shock goes right and it starts hitting that gas line, that copper gas line, starts smashing it. So I found the 2 spots where they were, and I was like, oh, didn't look like it shut the line down, but it dented it. It's copper, so it's soft. Luckily, it didn't break them, and that's probably because they were copper. But that's a little thing that makes you a little nervous when you see something like that and go, wow, that could have been bad if the gas was leaking through those. You know, propane leaking underneath your rig is not what you want. No leaks under your rig is what you want, right? You want it all clean, drip-free. In any case, I'll let you go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll get some more videos up soon, some more fix-it videos, and hopefully some more travel videos. And then we'll go from there. So happy, safe, and healthy RVing, everyone. Take care.